since Sri Aurobindo Center is concerning itself also with short films, which is a genre of filmmaking which has never been terribly popular in India, largely because I think the manner in which it was introduced, because the Films Division, which was a department of the Government of India, when they decided that, when it was formed in 1950, at that time the whole idea was that short films would be made to introduce the new India to our people, which meant that the various departments, various ministries and so on and so forth would make films to show the public of the country what they were doing in terms of development, etc., etc. And along with it, they were also supposed to be showing our cultural heritage and so on. Now, that whole process, of course, whatever happens when you go through the government into this sort of thing, automatically, at the other end, all films turn out to be the same kind of sausage. So this has really been the problem, and then short films got a bad name because of that. Although there were periods of the Films Division when there were some quite extraordinary films made, particularly I think in the late 60s and also later a couple of times. But by the time the Asian Games took place, which really meant that it was the death knell of the Films Division, because television came and color television came to India, and whatever little opportunity that filmmakers had of making documentary films disappeared twice. Nothing really happened after that, and today you do have, an occasional film being made by the Films Division, but by and large you get to see sort of 2-minute things in cinemas with the producer, director's name, in CinemaScope at the end of it, running for about 20 seconds of the 60 seconds of the film. So that sort of thing, and it is really very unfortunate that this has happened. In the meanwhile, of course, there have been, because you see, there's always, the young people always want to make different kinds of films. It's from the time PSBT started, which Aruna referred to, Public Service Broadcasting Trust, which was about, I think, about 10 or 11 years ago. Rajiv Mehrotra, who is the person behind it, and some of us, like Aruna and I, are connected with it. The organization, the most important thing for short films, of course, as we know, is A, funding, and B, it has to pay for itself. And the way it can pay for itself is it has to be shown someplace which will earn revenue. And in this case, when it started, there was the Ford Foundation on one side, and there were other kinds of things, and then of course there was the Doordarshan coming together, creating a certain amount of money to make films, and eventually today, of course, there are more than 40 to 50 films made through the PSBT, which is a very interesting development, and a lot of young, wonderful directors have emerged on account of this, and also because the briefs are very open. I mean, they're not specific. It's not like when you make a film for the Films Division, what it's supposed to do. So it really leaves a great deal to the imagination of young filmmakers to make the kind of films they want to the extent that today you find that quite a number of young filmmakers are wanting to stick to making short films. Not necessarily, it's not, there's a time, because when I started making films, making short films was a step towards making cinema films, fiction films, and so on. But now there are young people who want to concentrate on making short films, which means that the genre has actually come to stay.